The film begins with something unusual hurtling toward Earth at an astonishing speed. Meanwhile, on the ground, a hunter named Wolf checks his traps and realizes that he has successfully killed a deer, which he quickly loads into his truck. As he inspects the animal, a powerful shockwave from the sky causes him to lose control. Nearby, an unknown object crashes down, raising a massive cloud of dust. His dog starts barking continuously, and driven by curiosity, Wolf decides to investigate the crash site. The dog jumps out of the vehicle and runs toward the crater. Soon, Wolf hears the sound of an animal crying from inside the pit. The dog suddenly runs back in panic, while Wolf, curious, approaches the crater. A terrifying roar echoes from inside, making Wolf tremble with fear. He grabs his gun and aims at the pit, but another deep roar shakes him completely. In the background, we hear gunshots, and the dog runs away in desperation. The next day, we meet a girl named Renee who loves animals very much and is saying goodbye to her pet lizard that has just died. At home, we see her mother, Linda, and Renee scolds her for forgetting to take her to the pet store. Linda doesn't seem well, so Renee decides to leave her alone during their conversation. Renee's stepfather, Chase, interrupts. Renee clearly dislikes him. Annoyed by his taunts, she decides to leave early for school. Seeing Chase's car outside, she plans to take revenge by scratching it. At school, Renee doesn't like the environment and doesn't have many friends. During recess, her only companion is a boy named Paul, who also likes animals. He tries to talk to her, but she avoids getting close to him. While returning, she waits for her mother, who is late, and keeps sending her audio messages until Linda finally arrives. Renee gets into the car and notices that her mother is behaving strangely. She asks if they fought again, but Linda requests her to drop the topic. Back at home, Renee goes to feed her pet snake, but it refuses to eat. She tries to cheer it up by playing music, but eventually gives up. At dinner, Chase comments on the scratches on his car and tries to create confusion. Linda asks everyone to stay calm. Then Chase complains about a strange smell coming from the microwave, and Renee tells him she used it to heat her pet's food. This makes Chase angry. He argues with her, and when Renee talks back, he throws salad at her face. Furious, Renee leaves the room. Outside, she takes a deep breath and soon hears the sounds of arguing. Instead of going back inside, she decides to ride Chase's ATV. After a few minutes, she stops somewhere to think about her life and hears strange noises. She picks up a flashlight from the vehicle and goes to investigate, eventually finding the same crater. While examining the place, she sees a strange creature. Terrified as it comes toward her, she runs into a corner and falls to the ground to protect herself. But the creature cannot attack her because it is chained to Wolf's car. The creature desperately tries to free itself, while Renee remains still. Eventually, the creature gets tired and stops trying. Seeing the silence, Renee quickly gets back on the ATV to escape. But when she realizes the creature has injured itself while trying to break free, she cannot leave, as her instinct to protect animals won't allow it. She carefully approaches the chains and manages to loosen them. However, the creature shows aggression and frightens her, so she runs away. When she reaches home, she looks through the window and finds her mother getting along fine with her stepfather, which leaves her confused. Saddened by the situation, Renee decides to stay outside for a while. The next day, on her way to school, she looks up and sees several military helicopters flying over the area. She feels happy, thinking she has discovered something important. At school, she looks for her only acquaintance, Paul, and asks if she can borrow a camera. He says yes, but adds that it belongs to his mother. Renee says it will be just for one day, but he refuses. She then makes a deal, promising to write his English essay in exchange for the camera. Paul thinks it's a good deal and agrees. When Renee reaches home, the couple is waiting to talk to her. First, Chase tells her to try to get along with both of them so that her mother can be happy. After saying this, he leaves the room. Linda asks Renee to stay calm, saying he is trying to change. Renee replies that he didn't even apologize for last night and goes to her room. In her room, she makes a list of things she will need to take when she goes back to the creature. She waits until everyone is asleep to sneak out. Before leaving, she takes the keys to Chase's car. We learn that she wants to take the revolver that is inside his car. Renee goes back to the place where she first saw the creature, but this time she stays at a distance and uses binoculars. She can't find the creature anywhere, so she gathers courage and decides to go closer. There, she finds some dead animals, either left behind by wolf or killed by the creature. But the creature itself is nowhere to be seen. Looking more carefully, she finds a trail of yellow blood that leads her in a direction. Using her binoculars, she sees the creature resting in another hole. She tries to get its attention by firing a shot with the revolver, but fails badly. Changing her plan, Renee decides to record a video of the creature to prove that she isn't crazy. She sets the camera to record and says that if anything happens to her, the viewers should inform her mother. Terrified, but determined, she moves closer. She discovers that the creature is trapped in a bear trap and manages to free it using a cutter. However, the creature shows no signs of life, which disappoints her, as she thinks it is dead. Not wanting to miss the opportunity, she decides to take its photo as proof of its existence and steps away to retrieve the camera. Meanwhile, the creature starts to rise behind her, but Renee believes it is dead and doesn't realize it. As soon as she reaches the camera, the creature lunges at her, and she falls helplessly to the ground. She has no time to escape as the creature is right over her. Out of fear, she cannot even look at it. But instead of attacking, the creature behaves like a dog and spits on her. It doesn't seem aggressive and moves away. Renee, terrified, quickly backs off but keeps staring at it. Hours pass as Renee tries to figure out what it is. She even tries to feed it, but the creature refuses to eat the fruit Renee offers. She searches her bag for some other option to feed it, but at that moment she hears the sound of a helicopter. Renee tries to talk to the creature and warns it to stay away from those things, saying they belong to the government and are dangerous. She doesn't know whether it understands her or not, but she turns off the camera and says goodbye to her new friend. Now back at home, Renee watches the camera recording, but when she checks her bag, she realizes she has forgotten Chase's gun. As she steps out of the house to return the revolver, she discovers that the creature has followed her all the way home. She can't drive it away, so she allows it to come along with her on the mission to return the weapon. On the way, she becomes nervous, unsure what her mother would do if she found out. Soon she realizes her friend has disappeared into the darkness. She calls out to it, but there is no response. Suddenly, it appears behind her and uses its powers to form a strong bond with Renee. The next day, Renee wakes up with her friend beside her and runs to hug it. This time, she doesn't leave it behind and takes it home with her, hiding it in the basement. At the crash site, the government is searching for clues about the creature. The investigation is led by Agent Jonathan Keyes and his partner Brown. Jonathan complains that they had warned about this, but government bureaucracy always gets in the way. Renee waits until everyone leaves the house so she can bring her friend inside. She tries to feed it meat, but it refuses again. In her room, she introduces it to her other animals, but the creature tries to eat the snake, and she stops it, saying they are friends. Renee decides to name it Croc. She picks up her guitar and plays the same music she had played before. As she does, she notices the creature reacting to the music. She realizes that her friend is afraid of something and comforts it, promising that she will protect it as long as she can. Linda returns from work, and when she checks her phone, she finds a message from Chase saying that he has been clean for 48 hours. She breaks down in tears, realizing he is lying. Meanwhile, Renee is showing the creature some TV shows when she hears noise at the door. Worried about how her mother might react, she decides to take it outside. When Linda enters the house, she sees everything scattered around, which only makes things worse. Later, Paul decides to go to Renee's house. Linda opens the door to welcome him. Paul says he has come to get his camera, and she lets him in. Paul enters Renee's room and sees a photograph of her sitting with her father, waiting for him. Renee returns and looks for her mother, who asks her about the mess and why she didn't go to school. Renee replies that she felt sick and decided to come home early. Realizing her mother already knew she hadn't gone to school, she quickly goes upstairs and finds Paul watching the footage on the camera. He asks her what it is. Before explaining, she shuts the bedroom door. Meanwhile, Paul takes advantage of the moment to remove the tape and hide it in his pocket. At first, Renee refuses to tell him anything, but Paul insists and demands the truth. Renee says she found the creature in the middle of the desert and filmed it to become rich, but the creature escaped. Her nervousness makes Paul realize she is lying, and he demands the real story since the camera is his. Paul hands her the camera but keeps insisting on the truth. Then she lies again, saying it's just an edited video like a Bigfoot story. While checking the camera, she realizes the tape is missing and demands it back. Paul confronts her and refuses to return it until she tells him the truth, leading to an argument. Because of the noise, Linda thinks the teenagers are doing something wrong and enters the room. Both of them feel embarrassed, and she asks what they are planning to do now. Frustrated, Paul threatens to take the tape to the police. With no other option, Renee decides to take him to the basement entrance. Inside, she warns the creature that she has brought a friend. Paul hears the growling and gets scared. When the creature comes near, T doesn't behave friendly and tries to attack Paul, but Renee stops it. She tells her friend that it can't eat the boy because he is her friend too. Paul is so frightened that he starts trembling. When Croc comes closer to sniff him, Paul quickly backs away. He becomes so terrified that he faints, and Renee says that was to be expected. They wait for him to wake up so they can continue talking. But as soon as he opens his eyes and sees the creature, he panics again. Renee covers his mouth to calm him, but he can't overcome his fear. She asks him to trust her. Then Renee removes her hand and goes to Croc, singing the same song as before. The creature becomes calm, and Paul is amazed. They come out of the basement, and Renee begs Paul not to tell anyone about Croc. Paul decides to return the tape to her. She thanks him and says her friend means a lot to her. Then Paul says goodbye and leaves. From a distance, Brown and another agent are watching them and recording their conversation. At school, Renee and Paul talk, and she tells him that she can't feed Croc because it refuses to eat anything. She gives it. Paul asks if she and Croc can meet him in the desert that night, but she immediately refuses because the agents are searching for it. Paul says they are looking west-south near the valley, and she asks what he means. He explains that maybe Croc doesn't want to be fed but wants to find its own food. That night, they meet, and Paul shows her some wild boars. Rennie invites Croc to come forward for food, but at first he doesn't understand. However, when he sees the animals, he runs fast to hunt them, and while the young people are talking, he keeps eating. After finishing, Croc brings some meat back for the girl. She thanks him and says she's fine. Rennie thanks Paul for the night and for helping her friend. Paul is happy and tries to hug her, but Croc growls, showing he doesn't like it. On the way home, she meets Chase, who is very drunk. He says he stole her keys to take his revolver back. He demands the gun, but she tells him it was lost in the desert, which makes him furious. He asks her to sit on the couch so they can talk, but when she refuses and tries to go to her room, he grabs her by the hair and drags her to the couch, saying he will teach her a lesson because she doesn't respect him enough to be afraid of him. Croc, who is in the basement, begins to feel her fear, and Rennie becomes distressed. She tries to escape and calls for her mother, but Chase manages to catch her. She quickly bites his hand, which enrages him, and he slams her against the wall. The girl falls helplessly to the ground. He goes toward her to hurt her, but at that moment Linda appears and tries to stop him. Sensing the girl's fear, Croc starts smashing his head against the wall, making the whole house shake. Realizing he won't get away with it, Chase gives up. Rennie knows it's her friend trying to help her. Her mother calls Chase disgusting and, tired of the situation, throws him out of the house. Linda tries to go to her daughter, but Rennie is angry and tells her to stay away. Rennie goes down to the basement and manages to calm Croc, who is still agitated. The next day, on her way to school, Agent Jonathan stops her. He introduces himself and asks if they can talk. She refuses, saying she has to go to school, but he doesn't let her leave. With no other option, she goes with him. Jonathan gets straight to the point, saying he already knows she's hiding something. He lets her go, but not before threatening her, saying the next conversation will be with a warrant and that she'll be sent to jail for failing to surrender a weapon and for illegal possession. Linda calls a plumber because she noticed the water was already gone and thinks it might be due to the earthquake the night before. The plumber says he didn't feel anything, which Linda finds strange. He goes down to the basement, notices something odd in the ceiling pipes, and follows it. Eventually, he finds the creature and, in fear, hits it with a tool, which irritates Croc. The creature viciously attacks him, but the man manages to escape the basement and, in panic, gets into his car. He doesn't get far, as another car crashes into his, causing a deadly accident. At school, Rennie thinks about her conversation with the agent and considers calling him, but then decides against it and crushes his card. On the bus ride home, she sees the accident near her house but doesn't pay much attention and moves on. Linda arrives and offers her daughter a ride. When they get home, they argue, and Rennie says she can't trust her mother with anything and that all of this is her fault. They soon calm down, and Linda mentions she called a plumber to fix the pipes. Rennie's expression changes instantly. She goes down to the basement and finds a huge mess and bloodstains. She goes to Croc and sees he's injured. She asks if he ate the man. She remembers the accident and thinks it happened because Croc scared the man into running away. She warns her friend that he can't stay here anymore because her mom might call more plumbers or even come down herself, and he could hurt more people. Brown goes to meet Paul and asks for information. Later, Paul calls Rennie, and she asks if he can meet her at the same hunting spot. He agrees. When they meet, Rennie tells him about her plan to take Croc to a reserve. She says she'll stay there with him for a while, but Paul disagrees and calls her crazy. She says she's not asking for permission, just for his help. Paul tells her that a man came to see him and asked questions. Rennie tells him everything will be fine, but Paul reveals the man also threatened him with deportation. He assures her he didn't tell them anything. Later, Rennie prepares to run away and leaves a note for her mother explaining the situation. As she's about to get into Chase's van, Chase shows up with a gun and drags her out. Meanwhile, agents are approaching Croc. Chase takes Rennie into Linda's room, holds both of them hostage, and becomes violent. The soldiers reach the vehicle where the creature was supposed to be, but they don't find him there. As Croc is returning to Rennie, Chase starts attacking Linda and knocks her to the ground. Seeing this, Rennie takes the chance to run, but Chase chases her and catches her. Just as he's about to kill her, Croc arrives in time and brutally kills him despite Rennie begging him to stop. Seeing that Rennie is now afraid of him, Croc decides to run away. At that moment, Paul arrives. After hearing the situation, Paul says he won't help anymore and admits he told everything to the feds. Jonathan arrives at the house and is greeted by Linda. Rennie gets angry at Paul, but he says he had no choice because his family would be deported. Jonathan confirms Paul's story. When Rennie tries to escape, Jonathan quickly pulls out his gun, shoots the car tires, and captures her. She's tied to a chair, and the agent soon realizes that the girl has a deep bond with the creature. He breaks her finger, making her scream in pain. Feeling her pain, Croc runs to save her. The feds manage to neutralize the creature. Rennie begs them not to hurt him, but Jonathan knocks her unconscious. The feds take the creature to a federal facility and also take Rennie and her mother. Jonathan tells Brown to try to convince Linda to say something because he can't say it himself. Meanwhile, he goes to see the girl in a separate room. Rennie wakes up and asks if they killed Croc. He answers yes, saying they now have everything they need. Rennie spits his face. He tells her she's in serious trouble for letting a dangerous creature go. She asks if helping a creature is now a crime, and Jonathan replies that legally it isn't, but there are people who care and are against it. Jonathan shows no interest in being gentle and says he'll do whatever it takes. Rennie tries to free herself but can't. Knowing about her bond with Croc, she starts injuring her finger to try to contact her friend. Croc begins to react, but it's still difficult. With no other option, she decides to break another finger and screams in pain. The agents hear this and immediately send extra security. Croc somehow manages to break free and starts attacking the agents. While Jonathan is trying to cover Rennie's mouth, she bites his hand. Brown stops her and slams her to the ground. At the same time, the base lights start flickering. Croc is outside the interrogation room. The two agents wait for him with their weapons. Croc quickly breaks down the door, injuring them and knocking them to the ground. Just as he's about to kill them, Rennie stops him, telling him not to do it, or he'll become exactly what they say he is. They both run from the base. Jonathan soon wakes up and grabs his weapon to kill the creature. Rennie steals a car and tries to get Croc inside, but Jonathan arrives and starts shooting. They hide behind the car while he keeps firing. To save his friend, Croc decides to fight back. He's shot several times but manages to kill the agent. In the process, Croc dies. Seeing her friend lying on the ground, Rennie breaks down in tears. Linda soon arrives to comfort her daughter. A few days later, Rennie sits alone on a swing playing Croc's favorite song. She doesn't know that scientists are studying her friend's body. To everyone's surprise, the creature is still alive and will return to his human form. And with that, the movie ends.